Hi and Assalamualaikum. We are from Group 7 and our topic today is illegal wildlife trade in Malaysia. My name is Nur Safira binti Muhammad Suko and another presenter for my group are Nurul Najwa binti Faizal, Nur Naziha binti Misrun and Nur Khairunisa Shafika binti Zahari. I will start this topic with the introduction of illegal wildlife trade. Illegal wildlife trade is a business involving the unlawful harvest of trade in live animals and plants. Based on fact, illegal wildlife trade is the fifth most profitable illegal trade, so no wonder it is called as a multi-billion-dollar business. This wildlife population become a target of wildlife crime due to their rarity and their highest price in the market, especially in the dark market. According to WWF Malaysia website, Malaysia is one of 12 megadiversity countries recognized with many species. Since Malaysia is recognized as a country have many species, Malaysia is one of the country become a source and transit country for international wildlife trade product. The most famous wildlife product that is often traded is rhino horn, ivory, tiger, birds and other reptiles. Type of wildlife animals. The first wildlife animal is the Malayan tiger. Malayan tiger's scientific name is Panthera tigris, living in habitat tropical and subtropical forests as well as grassland and shrubland. This species is one of the smallest tiger species that can be found in southern and central part of Malaysia Peninsula and southern part of Thailand. Malayan tiger is a national symbol of Malaysia, but this species threatened with extinction with only less than 200 population in Malaysia jungles. The decline of this tiger species is due to habitat loss, prey loss and illegal poaching for the tiger skins and bones. The tiger bones are normally a more valuable part than the skins. Also, there are tiger parts used in traditional medicines. The second wildlife animal is Bornean elephant. With its scientific names Elephas maximus borneensis, this animal living in habitat lowland and valley. This elephant species is the smallest Asian subspecies. They are smaller compared to other elephant species because they only grow to less than 2.5 meters compared to another species that can grow until 3 meters. With a fewer than 1,500 population in the Sabah jungle, these elephants have a special features where they have a long tail that sometimes touch the ground, relatively large ears and straighter tusks. These species are declined due to habitat loss because of logging, expanding agriculture, and palm oil plantation in Sabah. And another reason for this species declining is fragmentation and poaching for its ivory. Slow lories or Nyxicebus living in habitat tropical, subtropical forests, primary and secondary rainforests, bamboo grove and mangrove forests. Slow lories have 8 species and 5 of the species can be found in Malaysia. The 5 species is Sunda slow lories at Peninsula and at East Malaysia, Borneo is Borneo slow lories, Bangka slow lories and Kayan River slow lories, while Philippine slow lories was recently found in Sabah in 2011. Local Malaysians call this species as kongkang or kejora pets. This species is threatened with extinction due to poachers who want to catch this species and sell it as a pet. This wild animal become a pet because of its shy nature that is easy to approach by human and its cute appearance. Next is reason for trading. The first reason why illegal wildlife trade happen is traditional medicine. Traditional medicines use wildlife body part as ingredients of the medicines. For example, tiger bones, pangolin scales, rhinoceros, and dendrobium orchid. In making traditional Chinese medicines, more than a million pangolins poached between year 2000 until 2013. The demand for pangolin scales increased because it was said to be helped with lactation and arthritis. The growing demand made these poor animals and plants hunted illegally and threatened the extinction of their species. The second reason for illegal wildlife trade is as pets. In Malaysia, the most common animals poached to be pets are slow lories, pangolins, wild cats, and snakes. People normally make it as hobby, but they forget that they have threatened these species. In some cases, the pets survive for only a few weeks because the keeper are not being able to take care of the animal properly. The third reason for illegal wildlife trade happen is as food. For some reason, in certain countries, people believe that wildlife has a good protein in them that can help provide energy and prevent disease in human body. For example, wild meats such as deer, pangolins and snakes is consumed as a tonic food. As you can see in the picture, they sell snakes and bats in daily market. And the last reason for illegal wildlife trade happen is for skin, furs and wools. Billions of animals suffer because of human greed for its skins, fur and wools. This is the main reason why these animals are hunted. Tiger poaching increased due to its skins and claw to be used as charm and souvenir, while reptile skins like crocodile and snakes has a high demand in leather market due to its exotic special features. This is all an improper action as it prevents these species from thriving in their habitat and threaten their extinction. Now let's move to the next presenter.
Hi, my name is Nurul Najwa. Let's continue with illegal wildlife trade issue in Malaysia. The first issue is poaching and wildlife trafficking in Sabah. Sabah is the favorite place for poachers because there are a large number of animals to be preyed upon in their illegal activities. In 2019, the number of poaching and animal trafficking increased, and it is worrying the local community and government due to the declining number of animals. Among those targeted in Sabah in 2019 are elephant, sun bears, pangolin, and even sea turtles. The number of animals above is declining and their habitat is affected due to the increase in Sabah illegal activities. In 2019, Sabah lost 15 elephants killed using firearms, poisons, and even traps to take ivory and specific organs for illegal trade. For this case, elephant ivory buyers asked for help from locals to tell them about the routes often used by elephant to cross and find food. Therefore, the reduction in the number of elephant and other animals due to trafficking is caused by hunters and the help of villagers in Sabah. Ivory smuggling is carried out by sea for ivory trade to the Malaysian community itself or to be exported abroad. This trade is made based on profit regardless of the wildlife population in this country. The second issue is KLIA as the place of trade and smuggling of wild animals. A 2016 report by the Wildlife Justice Commission revealed that Kuala Lumpur is the easiest part to move illegal wildlife. This criminal or trader of wild animal move and smuggle through the Kuala Lumpur International Airport. This is because Malaysia is strategic and has the best logistics. It is best used by criminals to transit these wild animals from Malaysia to foreign countries such as Africa, China, and throughout the country. This transit activity has been done since time immemorial until now. Malaysia is the best center for the process of existing and entering wild animal by irresponsible parties. According to Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, CITE, Malaysia is the most affected in the ivory trade, either in the export, import, and even transit process for this illegal trade. Between 2003 and 2014, nearly 20% of the world total ivory seizure had a Malaysian connection. In 2010, the Higher Court once ordered a businessman, Anson Wong Keng Liang, 52 years old, to serve 6 months imprisonment and pay a fine of 190,000 or 12 months imprisonment on charge of exporting snake from boa constrictor species, a scheduled animal species in Appendix 3 of the Act International Trade on Endangered Species. He committed at the Kuala Lumpur Airport KLIA after the snakes were found in Anson luggage while he was in transit travelling from Penang to Jakarta. The Act provides for a minimum fine of 100,000 for each animal listed in the schedule or maximum jail terms of 7 years or both. The third issue is pet selling in Malaysia. Many species offered for sale are special from what has been made into pets. For example, parrots and snakes, therefore often sold in regular pet store. However, this assessment showed the trend of selling high-profile and endangered mammals as a pet, the opposite species not allowed in local trade, nor is it readily available. This includes 18 species of native mammals such as sun bear, sundanese, snow loris, white hand gibbon, and small otter laterogill perspicillata, and involve a minimum of 83 and a minimum of 101 animals whose trade is strictly prohibited in Peninsular Malaysia. Demand for wild animals identified as a pet is paramount important and relevant to assessment finding. Trade of species like this has never happened before, has been documented on this scale in Peninsular Malaysia. The demand for wild animals is increasing from year to year to make them pets. Young animals and infants are observed in the Malaysian market for trade purpose. This wild animal hunting continues to increase due to high market demand. Let's continue with the causes lead to illegal wildlife trade in Malaysia. The first causes is high demand for wild animals. Increased demand from foreign countries is also one of the reasons for increasing wildlife hunting and trade. Malaysia is one of the countries with a high number and habitat of wild animals such as tiger, pangolins, and elephant. Because Malaysia is a strategic country for exporting wild animals, it facilitates these wildlife animal criminals in conducting illegal export activities abroad. High demand is due to those who love exotic food and drink. Some consider certain parts of this wild animal to have a better taste than chicken and fish. Therefore, the demand for wild animals is increasing just because it satisfies their appetite. Although in Malaysia, even the rate of eating wild animals is low, foreign countries such as China, Africa, and Europe have high fans, which causes wild animals to increase from year to year. This has led to the emergence of irresponsible people acting as suppliers of wild animals to foreign countries. High demand is also in line with the price. Each animal has a different price for each organ. For example, tiger bones used as alcohol for 1 liter reach up to 90,000. This high price further enhance poacher spirit to continue to carry out animal trade activities in Malaysia to foreign countries. The second causes is weak enforcement in protecting wildlife. The enforcement and control of this downward movement of illegal activity cause this rampant wildlife trade. These criminals can do this activity without fear because they know that wild animals control rate in Malaysia is very low. Apart from law enforcement, these criminals get specific help and information about wild animals from skilled people such as villagers and also from irresponsible top department people. Such things further encourage the hunting and trafficking of wildlife in Malaysia. As evidence, in May 2018, 2 Vietnamese poachers were fined a total of 1.56 million ringgit, the most significant fine ever imposed for a wildlife-related offence. Per Hilitan, Wildlife and National Parks Department statistics show that almost 3,000 snares were destroyed in 479 operations between 2014 and July 2018.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Nazamiti Misran and I will present for challenges in controlling illegal wildlife trade in Malaysia and law and legislation. So let's start. The first challenges in controlling illegal wildlife trade in Malaysia is lack of law enforcement. The lack of enforcement was partly associated with financial resources, constraints, and lack of capacity power by the authorities. The capacity of the regulatory agencies is mainly confined due to the lack of manpower, skills, and equipment. The numbers of wildlife enforcement personnel are relatively small compared to the numbers of legislation that their respective departments need to enforce or the various tasks that come with the legislation or the variety of complaints or reports that they receive. Wildlife enforcement authorities have difficulty when most of the enforcement efforts focus on the entrance and exit points. Virtually all land and sea crossing international borders are being utilized by wildlife smugglers or poachers. Enforcement staff also pose a bit of challenge where unfamiliarity with standard operating procedures and skills to gather intelligence. Compared to criminals who use a variety of techniques and sophisticated technologies, the regulatory agencies have limited equipment in terms of quantity or advancement. The second challenge is corruption among governments, officials, agencies, and rangers. According to an article from News Strait Times, corruption is one of the most important facilitators and has profound effects on the extent of poaching and wildlife trading. Corruption threatens to undermine progress, disrupting criminal networks whose activities deplete wildlife and weaken good governance, the rule of law, and the well-being of local communities. For example, the activities of both specialists and opportunistic poachers and wildlife traffickers are made easier when authorities provide information to help them find specimens or evade law enforcement. Corruption can be in the form of bribery, where the person gives money or gifts in exchange of turning a blind eye, providing information, and allowing smuggling activities running smoothly without being caught. Lastly, the challenge in controlling illegal wildlife trade in Malaysia is lack of public awareness. The public awareness on wildlife conservation seems to be increasing for the past year, but is still considered to be low, and public also lacking in knowledge of new wildlife law. Low public understanding of the existing legislation in turn contributes to the difficulty to get their cooperation. Public perception on these issues is that they are feared for their safety and afraid to give a report to wildlife authorities when encountering this matter. Some public sectors were reluctant to cooperate unless they received some financial reward. There were also individuals who were paid by culprits to keep silent. We move to the next agenda, which is the law and legislation. The law applied for legal wildlife trade is Wildlife Conservation Act 2010. The primary legislation protecting wildlife in Peninsular Malaysia is the Wildlife Conservation Act 2010. The WCA is a strong legislative tool that covers a wide range of issues and provisions including hunting, animal welfare, trade and possession of animals or products that are claimed to contain derivatives of wild animals. Over 2,000 species are afforded protection, with each of them divided into one of 7 different categories, known as schedules. These schedules essentially govern how wildlife is protected and used. Species with the highest level of protection are considered totally protected. These species cannot be hunted, traded, or used unless a special permit granted by Director General of Perhilitan. Any violation of this clause carries a maximum fine of 500,000 ringgit Malaysia and a jail term of up to 5 years. Additional clauses for a crime relating to a female or juvenile animal are also provided, which carry a heavy penalty of a minimum fine of 150,000 ringgit Malaysia or a maximum fine of 500,000 ringgit Malaysia or a prison term of up to 10 years or both. The second law is International Trade in Endangered Species Act 2008. Malaysia has been a signatory to CITES 1 since 1978 and is classed as Category 1 in the CITES National Legislation Project, which assesses parties on their readiness to take appropriate measures to enforce provisions of the Convention and to consider appropriate compliance measures. Towards this end, the International Trade in Endangered Species Act 2008 (INTESA) was created. This legislation is perhaps the strongest in the Southeast Asian region. It governs the import and export of wildlife, with penalties for those violating the legislation reaching a maximum aggregate 2 million ringgit Malaysia or a prison term of maximum 7 years. Species in the Act are categorized according to three schedules which are consistent with their listing in CITES Appendix 1, 2, and 3. The third law applied in illegal wildlife trade is Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission Act 1998. The regulation of communications and multimedia platforms, including social media, is governed by the MCMC. Its powers are its powers are vested in the Communications and Multimedia Act 1998. Although the Commission is charged largely with overseeing the regulatory framework for telecommunications and broadcasting industry, its remit also extends to online activities and mobile services. At any point, the Commission may investigate a reported complaints if it has ground to believe that a civil or criminal offence is being or will be committed under this Act or its subsidiary legislation. This effectively means that Commission has the power to investigate any wildlife trade violations occurring on online platforms, including on social media, either on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and others. That's all from me. We move to the next presenter.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Nur Kanisa Shafika binti Zahari. Net solutions to stop illegal wildlife trade. By government, the police would recommend mandatory whipping for criminals involved in wildlife smuggling and tighten conditions for the issuance of firearms license and hunting permits. The President of Malaysian Nature Society, Professor Dr. Ahmad Ismail, said it is time for the legal system to implement higher penalties as current penalties are too low. He also said public education and regular monitoring are needed. The CEO of Sarawak Forest Corporation, Zulkifli Mohamad Atun, said that his agency is serious in curbing the trade, which is they have seized hundreds of wildlife from pet shops and market. They also will be relentless in stopping them. In Sabah State Wildlife Department, Director Agustin Tuga agrees with the proposal to impose caning to deter would-be poachers and smugglers. He also added the lack of manpower and intelligence is hindering the fight against the criminal. The director of Danau Giran Field Centre, Dr. Bernard Goosen, said he wants those involved in poachers and smugglers to send them to jail as a term of mandatory. Since February 2018, the government has nabbed 38 people including Cambodian, Vietnamese and Myanmar nationals for poaching and possessing wildlife trade. In May 2018, two Vietnamese poachers were fined a total of 1.56 million, which is the biggest fine ever imposed for a wildlife-related offence. Next, by society. First, be aware. Information today is just a click away. Learn more about the critically endangered species and understand the issues surrounding them. Second, you can educate your family and friends on wildlife protection laws in our country. Wildlife protection laws exist and are enforced in many countries like India, Philippines, and Malaysia. Third, ask before you buy. If you are unsure where something like jewelry, furniture, or clothing comes from, you can ask the vendor what it is made of, where it is from, and you also can ask if it is country of origin allows it is sale. Next, say no and take action. Do not use product derived from wildlife trade. Check the ingredients of the product you buy and make sure they are legally supplied. Do not buy products made from or formulated with wildlife body parts like ivory, fur, and shells. If you are buying pets, make sure they are legally documented. Fifth, report to the agency. Report wildlife crime to your local law enforcement agencies such as Department of Wildlife and National Parks Peninsular Malaysia, or we call Perhilitan, Forest Department Sarawak, FDS, and Sabah Wildlife Department, SWD. And the last one, get involved. Donate or join advocacies for tougher laws and policies against the perpetrators. Find time to share, like, and follow pro-wildlife advocacies on social media. That's all from me.
What is our recommendation? The first one, campaign awareness about wildlife. Creating awareness campaign on wildlife can reduce the hunting and trafficking of wildlife in Malaysia. In the campaign, the importance of maintaining wildlife habitat need to be emphasized so that Malaysian people are more sensitive to current issue. In addition to the importance, endangered animals such as tiger, pangolins and elephant should also be emphasized in the campaign so that the local community will know more about the decreasing number of wild animals. This campaign will impact the public to be a protector to the increasingly endangered habitat. Therefore, this campaign needs to be carried out, especially in states that are often the focus of poachers such as Pahang, Kelantan, Sabah and Sarawak. Number 2 recommendation is establish of Wildlife Preservation and Conservation Center. Malaysia has wildlife sanctuaries in several states such as Pahang, Kelantan and Sabah. However, these animal shelters need to be added and enlarged to care for and protect endangered wildlife. This shelter will protect some endangered animals to take care of their habitat. Moreover, the control of this shelter is higher than that of unintended forest. Therefore, poachers are not arbitrarily able to hunt wild animals for sale purpose. At this shelter as well, staff need to be added so that there is no intrusion inside the shelter. Staff need to be adequately trained to maintain the safety of this wildlife habitat. In conclusion, to conclude our topic, illegal wildlife trade in Malaysia is a never-ending issue and it is crucial for all parties to play an active role in fighting these illegal activities. This includes to educate the consumer who create the demand for this in the first place. Malaysia need to be more vigilant and aware of the seriousness of this crime. As a student, we also play an important role to stop illegal wildlife trade activities by joining any awareness campaign held by NGOs. We also need to take an action to report or make it viral any online illegal pet or wildlife trade happen on social media. Remember, don't be a watcher. Do take action. Thank you.